It's really frustrating. You know, the hospitality industry has been at the forefront of implementing all of these safety measures. We've been proud to do it, and people have used that, you know, and shouted about that their business is safe. And hospitality is responsible last week, according to the ONS figures, for 2.7% of transmissions, down from 3.2% the week before. Hospitality industry is being hung out to dry. We're being held up as the emperor's new clothes because, if we're being honest, we're the cheapest to close. I actually feel a sense of, well, there's a little bit more clarity for me that as a pub we're going to close, unless, you know, there's different types of pubs. But for the restaurants, they're being asked to stay open in a world where the government has told people to stay at home. The people aren't going out. The restrictions that are in place prohibit more than 20-30% of capacity. And whilst we close, and we hope and pray that the business support is there, so the staff that their wages are being protected have got jobs to come back to. But I think we're being unfairly hung out to dry. There's restaurants that myself and Sue have been to over the last couple of months, and you feel completely safe. You feel completely, you know, if you look at the Horse and Jockey, we put beer barrels outside that we put sinks into, the sanitizer, and we've got staff on both doors. Everybody has their temperature checked. Everybody wears a mask. Everybody sanitizes. They sit down at a table that's been sanitized, and they're served by staff that have spent their whole career managing cross-contamination. This is what we do. We know how to run good, clean businesses, and we're one of the only parts of the economy that is being left out to dry. And it's so upsetting because, you know, as a pub, we believe a pub with purpose, a pub that needs its community and its community needs it. We don't deserve to be blamed for these transmission rates. We have transmission rates in education at 40%. We have transmission rates in the workplace. We have transmission rates in retail that's significantly higher. I can go to a supermarket and there will be one squeezy bottle of sanitizer outside and a blue roll, and that's pretty much it. I think smaller retail in Liverpool has done a fantastic job. You go into some of the small independents, and absolutely, and so you should feel as safe as you do when you go into the restaurants. But look, let's talk about the problem that exists. The problem exists in education, and I don't know what the answer is because I'm not a politician. But when people say to me, well, we can't close schools, well, the transmission rate from schools and universities is at 40%. And that's a figure that's produced by the government, the ONS. And that's too high. And all I can say is that the hospitality industry have done its best and it's worked. All of the things that we've implemented has had an absolute direct impact on the transmission figures that are coming from hospitality. It's the emperor's new clothes, and it's pluralistic ignorance for all of these people thinking that there's some science behind it. There isn't. There's a study from 97 pubs, and there's some information that's come from America. The culture secretary was floundering on national television this morning, unable to give the data that's driving the closure of the hospitality business in the north, again, without clarity. So until we hear, we're all in limbo. But I absolutely feel for restaurants that are going to be asked to stay open in a world that's just not supporting them.
Adam, will it be down to these venues themselves to decide whether they are classed as a pub or a restaurant? I'm thinking some bars in town, for instance, that serve burgers and you can still get a pint. How does it work? Will the government say, no, you are a restaurant, you must stay open, or will they leave it to that owner to decide on that?
Oh, I think what we've seen from this government is that they like to keep it as murky as possible. You know, when we go back to March, and we spoke right back in the middle of March when all this was about to happen, as we were worrying what we needed to do to survive then. What has happened, again, is that this information filters out for us to digest and try and decipher, and it's not clear. And so what we're hoping for is when the announcement is made today, there's no ambiguity. We're either allowed to open because of our, it may be that they do it on our licensing conditions, it may be on how many percentage food plays a part of our turnover. We're not sure. And I don't think we'll be 100% sure when we get the announcement from the government. It'll be up to our trade press and the guide and other journalists out there to decipher this information with the help of experts and give us a steer on what we're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, it'll just be chaos, like it has been in some sectors of the economy where people don't know whether they can open or not.
Okay, just to say, don't come to the guide because we're probably as confused as anyone else. We got last time's announcement through and we got the information 24 hours later. That just gives an indication as to how messy this all is in terms of communication. And that's one of the most frustrating things, I think, isn't it? There's no clear message and no clear guidelines being given from central government to the likes of me, who's got a media platform, or the likes of you, who's got a pub.
Yeah, I mean, look, the strategy from the government seems to be whack-a-mole from day one. There's no game of chess being played here. There's no long-term strategy. I think the long-term strategy is a vaccine. In the meantime, the government seems to, well, when I say the government's advisors seem to brief the press as to which way the wind's blowing, and then they listen to the outcries. It's whack-a-mole management. That's what we're basically in. But we've accepted that since March. That we're not going to get clear instructions. What we're going to get is gossip and conjecture and rumour until the announcement's made. We hope that Steve Rotherham and Joe Anderson and Andy Burnham have done a job for us this weekend. They said they would. They were saying absolutely there's no deal until there's a deal. We've seen slightly different information coming out of the press this morning, but we hope that the businesses are going to get the support, but not just the businesses that are closed, the businesses that have got to carry on in this environment where everything is against the hospitality operator.
So how would you survive this now, Adam, in terms of being a pub landlord with a pub that does really well, spent a lot of money on making this venue COVID secure? The next few weeks are going to be really tough. Just financially, just give us some indication as to how you're going to get through that being closed. Well,
we're lucky, and this is the feast and famine scenario that we've been. We're lucky that we've had Eat Out to help out, and that has given us a couple of quid. We can last as long as the support comes in. We have rent to pay, we have utilities. We can pivot to takeaway, which is something that we're probably going to be starting this week, depending on the announcements. But really, we're in limbo until the government come up with a clear strategy of what we've got to do, how we've got to do it, and what our way out of it is. But at the moment, we've got an industry that's just being held out to dry. And personally, it feels really damaging that our industry is being blamed for something that we couldn't have done any more to prevent.
What advice would you give to anyone who's really worried right now, working within hospitality, maybe a smaller venue in Liverpool city centre? What would you say to these people who are rightly so really scared at the moment?
Well, what a lot of staff have been through over the last couple of months is a new opening. New openings of restaurants and bars and pubs are really, really stressful and they take a lot of energy. We've all had to do that. We all had a reopening in July. I firmly believe, and all of the messages that we see from our colleagues in hospitality, certainly in Liverpool, is that the staff are absolutely at the front of our thoughts. We know what they've been through. We know what they've been through with Eat Out to help out. That was a very stressful time. Lots and lots of people all needing the same amount of management in venues. The staff have taken the brunt of that. They really have. Sometimes we're the only people that people can complain to. And what I'd say to the staff is, you couldn't have done any more, and the hospitality operators, couldn't have done any more. And we've got to be proud of that, and we've got to not be take this vilification to heart. We know as an industry, and we know that on the periphery of our industry, a massive amount of other industries, yourself, the creatives out there who could been completely forgotten by this government, that there's the impact there as well. We were about to spend thousands of pounds at the end of last week on our local butcher and our local fishmonger and our beer bill, and none of that got spent because we couldn't commit to it. So we run out of a couple of products last night, and today we just wait for this news. But I would say to people that if the restaurants remain open, please support your independent restaurants. And that's nothing against the big boys, but the independents need your money more than ever now. Let's hope that common sense prevails, and this vilification of the hospitality industry aligns itself with the figures that are being produced by the hospitality industry that says the transmission rates are negligible.